broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. Thank you for joining us on episode 53 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom, here with Trevor. No Damon again this week, but
that's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We got the two of us. Damon is, as we speak, I think Damon is moving into his new house. So the good news is we get Damon back next episode, and we should have him going forward. So all Damon fans out there, patience.
Damon's been trying really hard to get his place all settled, and obviously, internet's kind of a hard thing to get set up for anyone that's moved into a new house. So we'll be glad to have Damon back.
We'll be glad to have Damon back permanently, but he's been able to join the past couple, which is good. So and he definitely wants to be here all the time, so we'll get him back soon enough here.
Exactly.
So we got a lot to talk about today. A lot of stuff's happened in the past couple of weeks, but we had that great guest last week. We had Drew on from DVC Rental Store, and that kind of pushed off a couple of emails that we had gotten since we wanted to make sure we covered all the topics with him. So we got a couple listener emails that are not necessarily questions, but more some statements, and we always like to share things that we get from our listeners. So I don't know if you want to read the first one or if you want me to, but
So Dan from California wrote us. He says, "Hey y'all, I've been enjoying the podcast, and I'm writing to provide a differing point of view on buying direct versus resale first. I would argue it makes more sense to buy resale first. First of all, if you already have a contract, Disney Direct will match up the used year to whatever you already have. You might have to go on a wait list for a few months until it pops up, but it saves you the effort of having to do the match yourself, which, that does make sense because, if you buy resale,
Sure.
You have to figure that out.
Yep.
Second, I think most of us want to have our core points first and then add on at a smaller contract. And since the add-on level for full benefits is 75 points, it makes sense to only buy that number of direct points. So, I do like his reasoning here, because that's exactly it. If you want to buy 300 or 400 points, do that resale and then tack on the direct one at the end. Something else that I actually want to add on to this, I'll get to a second part in a second, but as far as Disney matching up your used year, so something that I don't know if a lot of people know, and I actually caught this. I believe I read this on a Facebook group, was that they did make an amendment to the DVC contract rules, that when Disney buys back a contract, they have the right to adjust the use year on it. So
they could be a little bit more flexible with the use years now. It's not like a set in stone thing.
Yeah, exactly. So this actually even more affirms what Dan is talking about, is that, if you already have a resale contract and you say, I want a December use year on this resort, they'll just buy back whatever they can from that resort, and then they'll switch it to match your use year. And so, even though, like you said, you may be on the wait list, but it's not as bad as it used to be. Before, I think they were really struggling to find contracts to fit people. And now that they have the flexibility for it, it is easier to get that direct contract with the lower amount of points for what you want. So,
that makes sense. Yeah, that makes total sense. And as somebody who jumped the gun a little bit and bought two different use years, it is nice to have one use year as opposed to two. Having two is a little bit more of a challenge. I have realized that very quickly, but it's not the end of the world. It's still, it doesn't make it unusable. It's just a little more challenging. That's all.
And I guess something that you can even look at too is that, you may want to, readjust, sell off that contract and buy a different one to, line it up a bit better. Right. So,
maybe at some point for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that, I guess you buy a contract with the intent of, you're going to keep it for a long period of time. But if that contract's not working for you, that's why there is resale. And I think, like in your case, if you're willing to be flexible with it, the use year thing is maybe not an issue. But for some people, the fact that you can do this, if you want the direct benefits because you haven't bought direct already, buying that direct contract, for just the minimum amount of points and then getting them to adjust it to your use year, why would you not do that?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that process works. I don't know how they're doing that. So nobody come after us in the email here. We're just relaying what we've heard. But I don't know how that process exactly works. But if Disney can adjust use years, I'm sure that really helps. When we're selling direct contracts back to members.
Yeah, I think it's relatively invisible to us because it's just that they'll say, oh, here's your contract with the use year you asked for.
Yeah, it's internal accounting by them, basically.
Yeah,
it's not. Yeah,
but they had to amend it because if they didn't, then people would be going, well, wait, how come all of a sudden there's all these contracts popping up with this used year, but we've never seen you buy this used year back, right? So
exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. To continue on with what Dan said, so he gave us his use case as an example. So he said last November he bought 150 points through DVC Resale Market. Which, that's cool. Good thing going through those guys. We like them. In doing so, he saved about $10,000 on the direct price. Now he's considering adding on 75 points and just talked to a DVC direct agent and confirmed that they would match his use year. And then he goes on to say, in fact, if we had bought Copper Creek, we could buy into our September use year going back to 2018. So that's also, that's the other thing is that when you buy direct, depending on when you buy it, they will give you the previous year's points on your contract, which I actually got that on my Polynesian contract as well. Is that, they gave us the year before and then we kind of we used it right away and then we were able to start banking points, which, it makes it a lot more attractive, right? So.
Yeah, I started with double points as well.
Yeah. And then, he says it seems to be easier now to go from resale to direct. And he also, in brackets says, and I got that advice from Derek one day chatting with him on the DVC resale site. So, thanks Derek for helping out our users here.
Yeah. Well, our listeners definitely appreciate that. So
yeah.
So that's, we appreciate differing viewpoints. Of course, we had talked about this 2 episodes ago, right? So I think that's what he was referencing. And this email is a little bit old now, like I said, because we had to skip an episode. I just wanted to present his differing viewpoint because I think when we answered this question a couple episodes ago, all of our thoughts were buy direct first and then buy resale. But, I think at the end of the day, it matters what works best for you, right? I mean, that works for us, but it can, the situation can be different for you and maybe you want to do it a different way. And I think that's, it sounds like it worked out really well for him, that way. And by the way, Dan also, he had sent us a follow-up email too that I didn't include in here. Cause I jokingly said to him, I'm sorry that Damon always bashes your home resort, of Disneyland, cause he's in California. But, Dan was telling me that his, really their home now is Disney World. So,
oh.
but no, I like the differing viewpoint.
Yeah. And that's okay, Dan, that, I started off in Disneyland as well. And, it was my favorite place too for a long time, but I definitely see there is a lot more to do in Disney World. So hence why we go there now more as well, even though we're closer to the West Coast. And
I think the point he made too was about, how crowded it is in Disneyland and how it's just, it's a little more spread out in Disney World and that kind of thing. So I get it.
Yeah, there's still reasons to go there, but yeah.
Of course.
That's a whole other discussion.
It's a whole other podcast episode.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's read this one from Heather here. So Heather writes to us, says, love the informative and entertaining podcast. Then we get a smiley face emoji, which is always nice. After listening to the people from DVC Resale on the show, I keep wondering if there will be a DVC resale business far in the future with the new Riviera resale restrictions. Is Disney planning to drive down resale prices so much that every resale contract will be taken back by Disney in right of first refusal? Will there be a resale market when all the 14 original DVC resorts expire? This is a good question that I don't know the answer to. And I think we asked the DVC resale. I think we asked Derek this question when we had them on, and I think the answer is nobody really knows what's going to happen, right? I mean, that's kind of what, and I hate to answer it that way, Heather. Like, I wish I could give you like a real answer here, but I don't think we really know what's going to happen when those 14 original DVC resorts, expire. I'm assuming they'll offer, the ability to buy back in. That's, would be what my assumption would be, because they've done that before, right? But I don't know. I don't know what the resale market is going to look like then. Obviously, Disney's trying to restrict the resale market as much as they can, because it's a place where they're definitely losing some business, right? And I get that, as much as that stinks for our friends over at DVC Resale Market. But the good thing is that, I mean, this is not the first time they've put restrictions in place, right? They've done it a couple times now, a couple different times where they've, a couple years ago, they restricted the ability for resale folks to have access to the benefits, and then now they're restricting resale. And so, and the good thing about this is the market is still thriving, right? The resale market's still thriving. So I don't know what's going to happen with Riviera, but I think whatever it's going to be years down the road.
Well, so I agree with you, Tom, that we have no idea what's going to happen. I will put in my opinion on this, though, is that I don't think it's in Disney's best interest to completely squash the resale market. And I think they know this. Mm-hmm. Because so here's the thing, is that they're selling DVC, and if they didn't open it up to resale in the first place, they could have said, back when they first started DVC, you're not allowed to sell this contract, period, right? And the problem with that is that not having resale there, as much as, they're trying to sell their new properties and they're trying to sell stuff right now, which is why we're seeing the restrictions. If they don't allow people to resell their contracts, you end up in a position where, Disney has all these contracts. The amount of people that are willing to buy direct is not as many as the people that are willing to buy resale. And so what happens is you get all these rooms and all these contracts that are just sitting there. And Disney doesn't want that. They don't want to have, resorts half empty or resorts not being booked, because even if it's bought through resale and they didn't get the money on the resale itself, those people are still coming to Disney. Those people are still, even though they're not paying for the hotel, they're still paying for food. They're still paying for, park and merchandise and all those other things. So it is still in their best interest to allow for the resale market to continue to function. And I think the only thing that we're seeing right now is because of the fact that Disney has Riviera and Reflections coming, they're trying to pull back on resale because they're trying to make it less attractive, so that when, people are coming to the table, they're going, we could buy resale or we could buy direct. Because as it stands right now, resale looks a lot better than direct, right? Like they're trying to level the playing field, because they don't want to be in a position where they've not sold any of their Riviera, any of the Reflections, and everyone's just trading amongst the existing resorts, right? Yeah. So that's all this is right now. I don't think it's ever going to get to a point where Disney will flat out say, no more resales, or, once the 14 resorts are done, unless they're planning to get out of doing timeshares entirely at that point.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
Yeah. Like, so yeah, I mean, if that was the case, fine, I can see them doing that, but I don't see the whole point of DVC was, to give people a way to come down there with a little more flexibility, with that commitment of, you're going to be coming over many, many years. So, we'll give you, a better room rate, or like a guaranteed room rate over these years, with the assumption that, you're coming down there to spend money. The problem where they run into a problem is that, if they make it get to a point where it's not cost effective to use DVC, then, even people that have existing DVC contracts, they're not going to book it. They're not going to, you're going to end up with empty rooms. And if Disney has to start reporting that, more than half of the rooms at DVC are empty, that's not a good position to be in either. So yeah,
that's true.
I guess, like I said, to what Heather's saying, I can see with the way things are going right now that there's a concern about resale going away. But again, this is just my opinion on it, is that I don't think it's in Disney's best interest to completely squash allowing people to do resales on their contracts, because if they did, DVC just wouldn't work as a whole anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they'll keep trying to make it less attractive, right, to buy resale. They'll make it more and more attractive to buy direct. And I again, it makes sense from a business point of view, right? I mean, you want them buying directly from you because you can charge you're basically getting somebody to pay the initial purchase price and then basically getting someone to pay it again,
Yeah.
So and so that's I get why they're doing it.
Yeah, and it's also like we talked about this on the last episode, is you don't want to be in a position where you got a bunch of people that Saratoga and Old Key West, they're like, those are the only contracts being traded because nobody wants to buy the more expensive ones or the new ones. Yeah. And that's why they're doing this. That's why they're making those restrictions, because I'm sure a lot of people thought, oh yeah, Riviera, yeah, I'll just buy, if I really want to stay there, I'll buy some Saratoga points and book it at 7 months and that'll be fine. And Disney's trying to put a stop to that because for their new resorts, they're trying to protect the investment they put into those new resorts.
Yeah, it's interesting. You just brought up, I don't know why I just thought about this, but, I always hear, if you just ask like the typical DVC person, like, and I see this in the groups all the time, I'm sure you do too, where somebody will come on the group and say, well, what do I need to know about DVC? Like, what should I do? I don't know where to buy. I don't know what to do. Like, the first thing everyone says is buy where you want to stay, right? And we've talked about that many times on this show, so we're not going to relitigate that. But it's interesting to me then that everybody's so upset about the restrictions on resale for Riviera, because if the mantra is buy where you want to stay, then you should buy at Riviera if you want to stay there, because then you just want to stay at Riviera, right? Like, that's... Yeah. It's just funny to me because it seems contradictory, because you hear everybody say buy where you want to stay, but then, those same people are probably upset about the resale restrictions on Riviera. Well, it's like, okay, well, if you want to buy where you want to stay, then, then you want to stay at Riviera, then buy there, and then you can stay nowhere else. And
but the thing is that right now that still holds true for Riviera, because a direct Riviera contract can stay wherever they want. So
that's true.
So, anyone who's buying right now, if they want to stay at Riviera and they plan to hold on to it for, 20, 30 years, they're going to absolutely get their use out of it.
Sure.
The only problem comes in is, when they want to do resale is, then that's where the story is going to change, is, if you really, really want to stay at Riviera, you don't see yourself staying anywhere but Riviera, then you buy a resale contract.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a bit harder sell. But that's also where, I think this is where Disney is, they're trying to discourage that at the moment, I think. Even though it's still an option, they're just trying to discourage it because, they're putting a lot of money into this. And sorry, this all, for anyone that's listening to this, let's be honest, this all comes down to money. And you can see it as, Disney being greedy. I just see them being like any other business, which, they're
finding efficiencies.
Yeah, they're a business at the end of the day. They're not my best friend. They don't call me up and ask me how my day went. Sorry, but and I'm okay with that.
No, it's exactly right. But it's interesting to me the implications for this on the resale, not on the resale market, on the rental market. When we were talking to Drew about this last week, how he feels like they're going to have to make it like a whole separate price point basically for Riviera. Well, so while your points may not be more valuable in the resale market, it seems like they're going to be more valuable in the rental market, which is interesting.
Yeah. So actually, and I guess that's a good point too, is that you're going to probably find people that own Riviera. You won't see those resale contracts pop up as much. So that part of the resale market will get fuzzy, but then the rental side of that will probably become higher because those people will be renting out, those who have direct contracts at Riviera, they'll be renting out for either Riviera or any of the other resorts, depending on because they can still use them for other ones. Yeah. So you'll probably see more rentals happen on that side.
That makes sense to me, but I will have to see what happens. It's hard to speculate on something that hasn't even opened yet and isn't opening for another, 8 months. We're still pretty far off from opening there. So, I think really we're not going to know the full effects of this until, 5 years from now. But, truthfully, DVC could reverse course. I mean, it's possible. They could just, decide that they don't want to do that. I don't think they're going to do that. But
and here's the crazy thing is that, for as much as they've made these amendments to the resale contracts, at some point in the future when, Disney has sold off all their, everything that they've planned to do, and then they've hit a point where, they're not going to develop any new resorts for 5 years or whatever, they could decide to actually lift some of those restrictions on resale. Because, they amended them the first way. They could come back later and say, oh, we've amended this again, and now you can rent wherever you want. Right.
I guess it's possible, right? I'm sure somebody will write us and tell us that they can't do that legally or something.
Well, but if they already made the restrictions once on resale and again, saying past a certain date, you can't do this, they can go back and they can change it again. Again, I'm not saying, and again, don't quote me on this. Don't say to me, don't come back and say, you're expecting that they were going to do this in 5 years. I'm just saying that, they can, if they changed it one way, they could change it back the other way once they get what they want out of it. Because there may hit a point where, the whole no resale no jumping resorts on resale contracts for Riviera. It's very possible, in 5 or 10 years that it does hit a point where they go, we're not selling enough of these, or, people aren't using their contracts. So, let's open them up to anywhere. Right.
Or, the occupancy at Riviera is lower than the other ones and it's putting a strain on the system. There's lots of reasons, right? I mean, if you have Riviera sitting there at 50% because nobody can trade into it, because they have other contracts that they can't use, and so nobody even bothers, then, and the rest of this, that puts a strain on the rest of the system. So maybe they do have to backtrack then. I don't know, but I don't think they will, but who knows? I mean, anything's possible, right? So you're exactly right. So don't quote us on any of this being fact. This is all just us speculating. But to go back to Heather's statements on it, I just as a closing thought, I don't see Disney pulling out the rug on us as DVC members anytime soon, because it's not in their best interest as much as it's not in our best interest. Yeah, agreed.
So that's my take on it.
No, it's a good take. I think this is a interesting conversation. So
yeah,
let's talk about. I really see this as. Oh man, I don't want to say this because I'm sure someone's going to get on me. I see this as almost a nothing story, but
this isn't even a big deal to me.
I feel like it shouldn't be a big deal to anybody, but Facebook says otherwise. So.
Yeah. So what we're talking about is the resorts are now charging for all grocery deliveries. So,
but let's specify. So it's only if they bring it to your room.
So. Yeah. So exactly what it says is a $6 delivery fee is now being charged to any guests who receive grocery deliveries at a Walt Disney World resort. This fee is charged per order, not per bag or box. So, that this is a one-time charge to bring up all your stuff, which is fine. One source indicates that the fee is only imposed if the items are actually delivered to the guest room by a cast member. Guests willing to claim their items at Bell Services will reportedly not be charged.
So if you want to save $6, you can go down to Bell Services, grab a little cart, and bring all your stuff up for yourself.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but so like when I get to Disney, for me, I land in the evening, my groceries are delivered, in the afternoon or whatever, like as we're getting there. I get up to my room and I'm kind of unpacking. I always call Bell Services, tell them to bring my stuff up, and then it shows up, half an hour later or whatever. And that's fine. And to pay $6 for that convenience, it's no different than, I paid to have dinner delivered to my house on Friday because I couldn't be bothered to go out and get it myself. And so I paid that delivery charge.
I paid to have pizza delivered to my house the other day, and the delivery fee was $4. I mean, that's kind of how you got to look at it, right? I could have gone to pick that pizza up for free. I mean, not necessarily for free. Obviously, I had to pay for gas to get there, whatever. But it's the same kind of thing. It's you're paying for convenience, right? And I get why they're doing this, because obviously this is, and this isn't necessarily quote DVC news, but because DVC members do this more than just your regular everyday guests, right? The DVC members are the ones that are doing this. So this feels like a fee on DVC members, even though it isn't. But I get it. I mean, with the popularity of these, with these services and how much they're getting delivered, I'm sure it's been putting a strain on the Bell Services system. Totally. It has to be, right? It's gotten very popular, and I'm sure it's not been easy there. And here's the thing: they've had a package fee in place now for a long time. I want to say it was like like 2010 or something like that, right? It's been going on for a while, and I always felt like this was kind of a loophole in a weird way, right? Like they specifically said no groceries, are charged for this, but it makes sense for them to close the loophole. And again, $6 is not the end of the world. It's the price of a Mickey bar. You're like, it's not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things to me anyway.
And I guess, as far as, a good use of Bell Services time, if they're spending all their time doing these deliveries, that's taking away from other stuff. It makes the whole thing worse because not only are they delivering people's groceries, but they also deliver bags and hold bags and all that kinds of stuff. And so, groceries are one thing. Like groceries are, like you said, most people don't necessarily have groceries delivered. But your luggage though, on the other hand, that's like when you're on vacation, that's kind of your life. And if you're slowing down Bell Services for so that, people aren't able to get, their luggage, I can understand why they're making this, or they're trying to dissuade people from abusing the system.
Yeah. And I mean, and I don't think necessarily, before it was necessarily abuse, but I just think it got too popular, right?
Yeah,
it just got too popular.
It just became an assumption that Bell Services will just bring me my groceries, right?
Exactly, and like I said, it was a loophole basically. Not that it was, because Disney came out and said, when they put that package fee in place, they basically said they're like, okay, well, groceries are excluded for this. Well, now groceries are not excluded, and they, you charge $6, and like I said, in the grand scheme of things of a Disney trip, $6 is not going to bankrupt you. It's $6. I mean, it's
and. I'll also argue this as well. As a Canadian, it's not $6 for me either. It's closer to like $8.
Yeah, that's true.
And it still doesn't bother me that much.
Well, but it's like we said, you get charged delivery fees for anytime you get anything delivered to your house, and even if you get room service, there's a fee. I mean, there's usually fees to bring stuff to your room at any hotel that you go to. It's not an uncommon thing. I feel like some people are acting like this is like Disney's going out on a limb on this one. It's like, no. And the fact that it's still free if you go and get it yourself. So at that point, you're paying $6 for convenience, right? You're paying because you don't want to go and deal with picking it up. Yeah. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
And here's my only comment on the whole going and getting it yourself is that, so they'll provide you a cart to take your stuff up. For anyone listening to this, take the cart back when you're done. Because
that's just rude.
So I say this as I used to work shipping and receiving in a retail place, and people they would let people come and borrow the carts, and we would find carts in the weirdest places. They would walk it halfway home, or leave it in a parking lot somewhere or whatever, and I would have to go and find it, or they would just disappear altogether. And like I said, I know it's, you feel like, it's not that you're doing them a favor by going and getting it yourself, but yeah, like you said, it's just a decent thing to do. Don't leave the cart outside your room or dump it somewhere and, walk away. Put it back where you found it.
There's nothing that drives me crazier than when I go to the grocery store or go to Target or something, and there's just a cart just sitting in the middle of a parking spot. It's like, come on, man. Just bring it back to the place where it belongs. That drives me crazy.
Yeah. And I've seen that where people will, they'll walk it halfway down the street to, wherever they're going. And then they'll just, it's not even in the parking lot. And this is actually where I've seen, I don't know if you've seen some places where they put up those barriers where they have the carts that they'll actually lock the wheels past a certain point. And it's it's sad that you have to do that, but
it is sad. That drives me crazy. But no, that's a great point. Don't just leave it there. Bring it back to them. Yeah. Save them some time. Those Bell Service people work hard.
They do.
I mean, yeah. So don't make them just come up and get your empty cart.
And again, I don't speak for anyone else, but you know, I always make sure I tip them as well too, because you know, it's like I know people personally that don't tip because they like I've had like friends and whatnot say to me, you know, they're getting, you know, they get a paycheck. Why do I need to tip them? And it's like, yeah.
I always tip them for my bags at least. I mean, you know, if they're going to carry them, they're going to take them out of my car and then bring them into my room and take them off the cart and put them on the floor. I'm going to give them, you know, something for that. I mean, it's just kind of the tipping culture in the United States, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't know how it is in Canada. I don't know if you guys are the same way, but
I mean, yeah, we tip for, you know, same thing like pizza delivery, you know, you'll tip the driver or, you know, we got, it's pretty similar.
Yeah, because I know in like a lot of other countries, like tips are like a thing that doesn't really happen. They just pay people, you know, like a living wage, and they don't expect tips. So
right.
I know it's a little different, right?
But. Yeah. So yeah, I guess like I said, yeah, you know, you're. It's not that they're doing you a favor, but you know, showing appreciation for, you know, it's not the guy that is bringing your bags that decided that they're going to charge you $6. So
yeah.
Don't take it out on him. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I overall, like, and I get if, you know, if somebody's upset about this, you know, I'm sorry, but you know, for me at this, for I could understand if it was like a $20 fee or if they like charge you per box or per item or something, you know, but it's $6 for your whole order. This is not the end of the world in my mind, but you know, I don't know. A lot of people seem upset about it. So
yeah. And I guess, you know, we're just giving our point of view on this. So, you know, kind of like on our other topics, if somebody else has a differing point of view, we'd love to hear it.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead and yell at us via email.
Yeah. Cause you know, I'm just going off of what I've seen. So if you've seen something different, then please let us know.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all I have about that. I mean, I don't know if you have anything else about that, but it's pretty straightforward. I had a couple other things on my list, and I don't think we're going to talk too much about these, but I wanted to talk, you know, just mention them anyway, right? So, because, you know, well, because we talked in the last episode about the Galactic Gathering, the DVC event that was way overpriced, and you know,
it was just wrong.
It's just bad overall. Like, it was one of those, like, what were they thinking? Why were they doing this? Like, it doesn't make any sense in any way. Well, that got canceled. So just. It's kind of funny. It was supposed to happen a couple days ago. Now that we're, you know, when this releases, this was supposed to happen a couple days ago. But we just wanted to talk about how funny it is that it was canceled.
And I loved when it got announced. I did see one of our listeners commented, you know, I'm sure all two people that signed up for it were upset.
We're really upset. Yeah, we had some really funny comments on that article. Yeah, you guys were cracking me up.
Oh yeah, and I didn't. You know, I wasn't shocked. I don't feel bad that, you know, they canceled it because it was such a weirdly bolted together concept, right?
Yeah.
You know, a Star Wars thing in Epcot. What?
Why? Like why? There's nothing Star Wars, zero things Star Wars in Epcot.
Yeah. And then of course, yeah, you know, the price and just everything around it was just, it spoke really highly of, you know, somebody. Like, it was like somebody had an idea, they wrote it down and got it far enough to get approved, and then they went back and looked at it and went, huh.
Yeah, this... Well, the funny thing to me is, I'm just thinking about it. Like, if it were just about, like, attendance, I feel like, why don't you just lower the price then? Like, if it were just like, okay, the price is too much, why don't we just bump it down to, like, $150? Or unless they couldn't do it economically at $150. Like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, but... I think it's a combination of, there's no way they could have, you know, dropped the price on it. But I also think the timing was extremely poor.
Yeah.
Because they announced it, like the beginning of March?
Yeah, they announced it basically like a month before it was happening.
Yeah.
Like a little bit even less than that, maybe like 3 weeks.
Yeah, which again, if you think about that in terms of, you know, DVC specifically, we have 7-month and 11-month windows for booking. And, you know, not the majority of people, but a lot of people are booking, you know, at least that far out.
Oh yeah.
You know,
it just had to be like you were going to happen to be there, basically.
Yeah. So like, things like Moonlight Magic, it makes sense because, they have them spread out enough and, people can kind of plan if they want to go to that event, they can adjust accordingly. But to throw something like this out a month ahead of time and expect, a bunch of people to jump on it that, are already planning 7 months out, like, it just didn't make sense.
It really didn't make any sense. I do tend to think that, like, I don't think they just randomly slap prices on things. There's a lot of work that goes into figuring those things out. It's not just like a random thing. So maybe they felt like a 225, I think is what it was, is the only price they could do it at that made sense, that was profitable. And then no one signed up and they were like, well, we can't drop it now because otherwise we're going to lose money on it. So let's just cancel it. I'm guessing that's what happened, but.
I feel like they had some really amazing food lined up that nobody knew about, but because they didn't tell anybody, it was like...
It's poorly advertised, poorly scheduled, poorly priced.
Yeah. Maybe the stuff that we're starting to see for Star Wars Land, maybe that was the plan, is that it was going to be like a, sneak preview of, here's the food offerings at Star Wars, right? And
interesting.
But I feel like the fact that they threw it out there, it rings of just an afterthought. Like they had some budget money left over and somebody said, let's set up an event, right?
Let's throw this thing together. Let's milk that Star Wars cash cow a little bit more.
Yeah. Before it's even here, right? Like
before it's even here. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's all I got on that. I had to mention it even though it was already passed by anyway, but I just thought it was funny.
It's just a funny situation, right? Yeah.
Well, because Disney's usually so calculated and usually so good at these things. So when they're not good at one of them, it's just kind of funny.
Oh, yeah.
But they're not perfect, right? I mean, they're things that are going to happen. So
yeah,
I get it.
And the plus side of this is that, I think that sends a clear message to them that, there is a threshold for what people will entertain as far as ridiculous goes. And they cross the line.
I think one of the comments on there was that they broke the demand curve or something like that. As, fun economic jokes. I don't really have any comments about the fact that Copper Creek is 100% declared. I don't know about you, but I just wanted to put it in there. So all the points now for Copper Creek are now available in, the inventory for Copper Creek is all available. It doesn't mean it's sold out yet, by the way. It just means all the points are declered. So I don't really have any comments beyond that, but we were talking about it a couple weeks ago. So I figured.
Yeah. And I think it's great because, for those that are asking about should I buy into DVC, that this goes back to our previous discussion about, buy some resale and then, you could look at getting some Copper Creek points direct because they obviously have some available and those will come in cheaper than Riviera at the moment. Or actually, wait.
Well, they're the same price I think right now, but they're going to bump them up pretty soon here.
Yeah.
Well, so, I'll tell you what, my next resale points I buy would be Copper Creek. So
really.
Oh my gosh, yeah, are you kidding? Wilderness Lodge is my favorite resort of any resort, so. That's
fair. I mean, it definitely... I have such a weird place for Wilderness Lodge in my head, believe it or not.
What does that mean? I don't want to weird place.
Okay, so architecturally, it's the Grand Californian, and I love the Grand Californian. At Disneyland, it is the only place I will stay when I'm there. And I can say that with confidence because I've stayed at the other resorts. And the Grand Californian is by and far the best. And I know that Wilderness Lodge is the same, but its location drives me nuts.
Why? Because you can't really see Magic Kingdom. Like it's like kind of Magic Kingdom Resort, but kind of not. Is that what you mean? Like
it's almost, but not quite, right? Like it they have the boat, so don't they do have direct access. Don't get me wrong there, but it bugs me because like to get to Epcot from there versus staying at the Poly, and yes, I know I'm spoiled staying at the Poly. You don't have to remind me of that. But
Poly snob, you're a Poly snob.
I am. I am a Poly snob now. I'm sorry. I will admit it. And so because I know better, and because Poly has, and really any of the ones like Bay Lake Tower and all that, they're close enough to the TTC that you can get to Epcot easily, or you can go over to Magic Kingdom. So it's like all those resorts have both, but then you've got Wilderness Lodge, which has Magic Kingdom, but sorry, I almost knocked my mic over.
Were you gesticulating wildly? Is that what was happening? You were throwing your arms in the air like
I was drawing out the directions in the air in front of me. So for those that can't see it, I'm drawing a map in the air in front of me. It's very exciting.
That's funny.
But
that's why we need to do video instead of
yeah, maybe we need to YouTube this so you can see what I'm doing.
Anyway.
But yeah, so the problem with Wilderness Lodge is that it has the Magic Kingdom, but not the Epcot. So I don't know. Like I said, that's where it puts it in a weird place for me, is that, you know, I like Copper Creek. I like Boulder Ridge. I think, you know, that's a great place to stay, but I don't want to stay there.
See, I feel like all the reasons why you're saying you don't love it is the reasons why I do love it, because it's like close enough to Magic Kingdom without being on top of Magic Kingdom, right? So
Right.
like it's a little secluded. Like you feel like you're in a secluded place in the middle of a theme park. You know what I mean? Like you get what I'm saying? Like it's got like, but you're right there, but you're not.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I actually hadn't been back over to, like, I've been to Wilderness Lodge briefly once, but then on our last trip we went to Hoop-Dee-Doo, which was, you know, we went past Wilderness Lodge. We kind of got a good look at like the rest of the grounds and then the campground behind it. And the campground reminds me of like every campground that I stayed at in British Columbia or in Alberta. Like for anyone that's gone camping in Western Canada, you know what I'm talking about. Like it has that feel of, yeah, you know, a campground in the middle of nowhere, even though you're right next to the Magic Kingdom. So I get that. But like I said, there's still a thing in my head that I'm like,
you got to do it once. You got to do it once.
Yeah. But I think it's the IT part of my brain is that I'm trying to optimize
I get it. Yeah.
things. Yeah. And to me, it's not the optimal resort. But again, that's just for me.
There's a little bit of nostalgia mixed in because we stayed there a couple times when I was a kid, but there's just something about, and I know all the Wilderness Lodge lovers that are listening to this right now will understand this. When you walk into that lobby, it's just, it's incredible.
I know that. Like, it's the same like, as the Grand California.
Exactly.
It's the same lobby. I know what you're talking about.
There's just something about it with the fireplace that goes all the way up, and then you got the bubbling spring in the back, the water runs all the way to the pool, to a waterfall. I mean, there's just something about that place. And I mean, we went on a crazy tangent here, but I just love Wilderness Lodge. So I think my next points will definitely be Copper Creek resale. You know, probably when they come down a little bit, maybe once it gets closer to like 40 years left or something like that, I'll probably go for it then, because we just love that resort. And Boulder Ridge is good, but at Boulder Ridge you feel a little bit detached from the main lodge, you know, because you are detached, but you feel like, you know, to get food or anything else, it's a decent little walk. Yeah. Whereas Copper Creek is part of the lodge. So,
you just go downstairs and Whispering Canyon, right?
Exactly. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, so I think, I mean, this does tie back into the fact that Copper Creek is now 100% declared. Is, you know, you may have trouble finding points there if everyone else is going, oh, you know, maybe I want to, you know, jump on that. And actually so even with Copper Creek and Riviera being the same price, Copper Creek still does have an advantage over Riviera.
Which is?
You don't have the resale limitations that Riviera has.
Oh yeah, well yeah, there's that. Yeah.
So
oh my gosh.
So sorry, I guess.
No, my brain obviously is not functioning. I should have just known that immediately.
But this may screw up your plan of, you know, buying Copper Creek points, because everyone else is going to suck them up now because yeah, the thing is
that's a good point.
Yeah, even though it is like it's not the newest resort, it still has it doesn't have any of the restrictions that Riviera has. So things for people to keep in mind when you do want to look at buying some direct points is that there is still an option outside of Riviera until all of the Copper Creek ones sell out.
By the way, I don't think we talked about this, but did you see the one rendering that leaked out that was supposedly from Reflections that had houseboats on the water? And I called that like a while ago. I remember we were talking about what are they going to do that's special and crazy, and then we were joking that they'd have houseboats, and then there was a leaked image that had some like houseboats in it. I don't know why it didn't make the rounds more, and it could have been fake. I don't know. I mean, who knows? It's the internet, but yeah, I saw some sort of image that it had like houseboats, and I was like, that's crazy, because we talked about this, and I jokingly said that was going to be what they were going to do that was different and weird, but I don't know.
Could you
I don't know where the picture
see
is.
Houseboats floating on Bay Lake?
Only if you could detach it and then, drive yourself over to Magic Kingdom, which I don't think is going to be a possibility.
Oh my gosh.
How great would that be? That'd be amazing.
The parking would be ridiculous. Like, oh my God, no.
Yeah, that's a nightmare. Anyway.
and then you would see the news stories about people crashing their houseboats into.
Oh yeah. You would have all sorts of problems with the ferry boat that goes from TTC to Magic Kingdom. You'd have all sorts of problems with. I mean, already that lake's pretty busy. So and then you get those little mouse boats. People drive those in all sorts of terrible places. Mm-hmm. It'd be a terrible idea. I don't know why that would ever happen, but I just had to mention I saw that. I did not see that make the rounds. I saw it one place. So again, I don't know if it was real, and I promise it wasn't April Fool's Day. It was like 2 months ago. But yeah, I know, right? I didn't get fooled. I promise. But yeah, no, I swear that I said on this podcast, they're going to have houseboats at this place. But
I remember you saying that, and the whole idea is just, it seems ridiculous to me, but I can see them doing it. I can see there being a market for it.
Yeah.
The funniest thing to me would be if they just tethered them all to the old Discovery Island.
that'd be creepy. I would.
Yeah, like if you had all these houseboats like circled around this like,
oh my gosh,
abandoned island.
That'd be creepy
because it's like right there, right? Like that's all.
I mean, it's not far. Yeah, I mean, it's across. I mean, it's not close either though. But I mean, it's not far. But
no.
All right. Let's move on. This is such a crazy tangent, but
yeah, we're getting in a weird spot.
Always getting in a weird spot. I mean, and that's why people like listening to the show, because we do weird things.
Yeah.
So
speaking of weird, let's talk about the Haunted Mansion.
What a transition that was. It's almost like we're professionals.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah. So finally, the Haunted Mansion now has an on-ride photo pass.
Heck yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like, I didn't realize how much we needed this. Like,
you didn't know how much you needed it until it's here. Now it's here, and you're like, how did I live without this?
Yeah, but so the one funny thing about this that people have pointed out, and I do kind of agree with this, is that rides that traditionally have photo passes, like Space Mountain or Splash Mountain or whatever, they're taking the photos at a place where there's some kind of action going on.
That's true. Yeah,
but.
Except for Pirates, by the way. I'm so annoyed by the Pirates one where it's like before you go down the drop.
So yeah, that was going to be my point, is that...
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to steal that.
Well, no, but you're right, is that, Pirates and Haunted Mansion, they have the photos, which, is great. I like getting these on-ride photos, but there's no action going on. And Pirates, I think, is more of an offender in this case, because it's literally like they missed it by like 5 feet.
Like just put it on the hill.
Like if they just put it as you were going down the hill and you got the photo, that would have been fine. But they put it right before because,
lightning.
I love my pictures on there because it's like a whole boat of uninterested people. Like
people just sitting waiting for the drop. That's basically what it is. They're just like, oh, we're about to go on a drop. Like,
yeah, exactly. and the thing about the Haunted Mansion one is that so I believe it's in the hallway as you're so right at the beginning where there's all the photos that change,
I believe
or the paintings, that change, and then there's lightning that goes in there. So they actually kind of queued it up with the lightning, from what I understand. So it's not, or I guess some people have said it still blinds you, but still you kind of get that dumbfounded look on the ride, or you're looking at your phone or whatever, right? Like so the thing that I like about it though is that, you know, it gives you an opportunity once you know it's there. And I'm an offender of this, is that when I know that where a photo opportunity is, I go out of my way to do stupid things.
Oh, yeah. Okay. For sure.
Like I have so many pictures on Space Mountain of me doing like the dumbest things. And I think my favorite one was like, me and my son got split up between like cause it's two cars, right? And we got split between the front and the back one. So we didn't have a picture together. We got the two photos instead. And so I'm sitting at the back and there's this random couple in front of me and they look just like bored. And I made sure, like, I knew where the camera was and I'm looking at the camera and I'm all excited and everything. So it was like just this really funny, like juxtaposition between us and them. So I love stuff like that. The thing about the Haunted Mansion one is that, you know, when you know it's there, you know, I'll go out of my way to make sure that I'm doing something funny or that, you know, we take a particular picture. So it gives you, you know, something else to kind of play with on the ride, I guess.
You know what I think the best one for that is Buzz Lightyear, right?
Yeah.
You can make, so good for that, right? Because you just make dumb faces while you're shooting, you know, because you know where the picture is.
Well, and most, that's another good example too, is, you know, it's a great offender of, you know, everyone on it, you know, they're so concentrated on what they're looking at that it's like they totally ignore the fact that there's a photo going on.
Well, see, I always pay attention to that one and make a dumb face, like I'm like concentrating super hard or just making some sort of stupid face. But
or the twin gun.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or, you know, whatever you want to do. Right. Yeah. But, I don't really care where it is. I'm going to be honest. Cause I just like how the picture looks. I think it looks cool. So
yes. And so that was the next thing that I wanted to bring up, is that the thing that excites me the most about it is that the picture that comes out at the end has the Hatbox Ghost on it.
Oh, yeah. Are they only doing that one today, or are they doing that always? Because the only ones I've seen are the ones that don't have the Hatbox Ghost. Okay,
so maybe that was just an initial thing. But the fact that they even bothered to put the Hatbox Ghost into that picture, I think that's a very interesting thing, because
it doesn't exist at Disney World.
Correct. So for those that don't know what I'm talking about, the Hatbox Ghost was an effect that was originally put into the Haunted Mansion back in 1969, but it didn't last very long because they couldn't get the effect to work right. And it's supposed to be a ghost that, you know, he's standing there, he has a hat on, he's holding an old-fashioned hat box, because I guess, you know, they couldn't keep their hats in normal boxes, so they had hat boxes. I don't know. So he's holding this hat box, and his head teleports or his head disappears off of his shoulders and goes to the hat box, and you can see it through the hat box, and it goes back and forth. That effect had been gone from like 1969, and then it came back in, I want to say 2015.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, about so like just in like the last couple of years, they redid the effect in Disneyland. So Disneyland has the Hatbox Ghost now, and it's right after you come out of the attic scene, you get to see the Hatbox Ghost, and it's like, you can tell, you know, it's a really great effect, and they did it really well. But the thing about it is that the Hatbox Ghost has become kind of a mascot of the Haunted Mansion in that way. Like a lot of the merchandise has it, because, you know, it became this thing that, because it was gone for so long and everyone talked about it, it got this sense of infamy around it, that, you know, people wanted to see it come back. And I remember when it came out in Disneyland, you know, everyone was kind of like, okay, now Disney World, and it never happened. Right. So the fact that, and again, I could be reaching here, but the fact that they included it in the picture there, or the pictures that I saw, even if it was just initially, tells me that they're still thinking about it. And I'm hoping that, you know, Disney World will get to see the Hatbox Ghost as well, because I think it's something worthwhile putting into it. And it doesn't take away from it. It's not on the same level as, like some people complain about, you know, Jack Sparrow being in Pirates of the Caribbean, that it takes away from the ride. And sorry, I'm not going to get into that, because
Well,
But-
and by the way, I am wrong. The Hatbox Ghost is on the picture, but they do have a separate magic shot one that you could do in front of the Haunted Mansion.
Oh,
That-
yes.
Where your
Yeah,
head's actually in the Hatbox.
Right. Yes. So yeah. Like I said, so the fact that they're doing all these things, is very, it's very
interesting.
hopeful. Yeah, it's hopeful
Yeah.
for me that, you know, I would think in the next couple of years we're going to see an update to the Haunted Mansion, and we'll see, you know, the Hatbox Ghost and possibly some new effects.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, kind of back to what I was saying about, you know, Jack Sparrow versus the Hatbox Ghost. You know, Jack Sparrow, people are like, oh, you know, they're just marketing the movie. The Hatbox Ghost was the return of, you know, an effect that was taken away, but it doesn't take away from the ride. It just, you know, it's another ghost. It's another thing in the ride, and it's not tied to, you know, any particular IP or anything like that. Like it feels less like, you know, Disney marketing movies, which a lot of people get on Disney for,
Sure.
and more just that pure, you know, Imagineering creativeness that I think people like to see.
That original storytelling, original character, you know, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm happy about this. I think it looks cool. I mean, I'm a little disappointed it's not like at the end where they have like the hitchhiking ghosts, you know, and like I would think that that's where they would have put it, but maybe they can't accomplish a picture with a flash with however that effect works. I don't know. But I was thinking about this and I was thinking, okay, so Haunted Mansion, what other rides that don't have PhotoPass would I want a PhotoPass on? Like, right? So, like, which one? And my very first thought is Big Thunder Mountain. How is there not one on Big Thunder Mountain?
That wasn't my first thought, but you're right.
Right? I mean, how is there not one there?
I
I mean, there should be.
yeah, and I guess the whole argument that it's mostly outside because Splash Mountain is outside and that doesn't matter here nor there. So, yeah.
But even do it like in that first little drop that takes you in the cave there. Like, because that surprises people if you've never been on it before. The first time I went on it, I was like, oh, there's like a lift hill that's completely hidden. Spoiler alert for those of you who have not gone on it. You know what I mean? Like, it surprised me the first time. And it's in the dark. And I mean, I think it'd be kind of cool if they did something like that. But like, why is there no PhotoPass there?
Yeah. I don't think that cave is the best place for it though, because I'm speaking for myself. Like when I was a kid going on Big Thunder, and a lot of kids that I do see going on there, is that you get a lot of pictures of kids crouched down with their fingers in their ears because it's incredibly loud.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
But yeah, there's 3 lift hills there. You're right. There's 3 different opportunities for, you know, coming down off of a lift hill that they could do photo passes on that ride, or, you know, any point like in the caves, or like when it's winding through.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like, yeah, you're right. There's no reason that they couldn't do a photo pass on Big Thunder.
I'm thinking even like those couple pieces of airtime they give you where you go, like there's that one spot like almost in the middle of the ride where you go over 2 like humps and you get a little bit of airtime.
Yeah.
Like if they could get you there,
yeah.
I mean, that would be a great picture, because you just like everybody at that point is just like smiling and having a good time. You know what I mean? Like that's a good place to get a picture.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That
seems like a weird omission.
True. So it's funny. You were thinking of that, and I totally forgot about Big Thunder. I was actually thinking of Peter Pan.
Interesting.
Which, I guess the thing about Peter Pan is that I feel like, again, you know, don't put it right at the beginning. Like, don't put it right when people are getting on the ride, because it doesn't add anything. You know, people are not excited. They're, you know, most of the time they're just sitting there. But I feel Peter Pan is something that, because of the way the ride works, is, you know, you can get a lot of, you know, people reacting to the set pieces and stuff like that. I feel you would see a lot more of that with kids. Like, you know, those actual expressions of, you know, smiling and happy and all that, more than any other dark ride. But then the only trick with it is that they can't use a flash on that one. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. But I feel they could do that though, because I like low light cameras have come
so far. Yeah.
Like I feel they could do something where, you know, they give you a nice, you know, low light picture of, you know, you're looking at, you know, the scene over the lagoon or whatever. And like, I don't know. I think that could work.
I got a crazy one I thought of just now. It's tough to be a bug right when the spiders come from the roof. right when they come down from the ceiling. Just that moment. There's lights flashing anyway.
Or the wasps.
Either one of those, right?
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious.
That's almost video worthy. Like, you know how they do the videos on Tower of Terror?
Yeah, the Tower of Terror and Seven Dwarves and yeah.
Yeah, if they could video just that little segment of everyone like jumping.
That'd be hilarious. Yeah. Like nobody like gets those photos for like a nice family photo like of everybody together. It's like the scared
reaction. Yeah,
it's the reaction shot. It's not supposed to be like, you know, you go to the store and you get a photographer to take a picture of you all sitting together. You know, that's not how it's for the reaction. They're always silly pictures. That's the idea, right? So why wouldn't you want something like that, especially for people that have never done that show before? The shock of that is amazing.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with that one. I got one more that like this is the PhotoPass photo that they should never ever do.
Okay, all right. That's
Small World.
Oh yeah, because you just have a lot of people on their phones.
yeah. That evolves from the people not even like looking waiting for the drop is just a bunch of people in a boat. I shouldn't say I was gonna say disinterested. I'm never disinterested when I go on that ride. I enjoy looking at it and I enjoy going through it, but it's more so that it's like a place to sit down with AC and just relax, right? Like I think you just get a bunch of like just really complacent people that just wanted to get out of the sun for a little while.
I've actually made a phone call on that ride before. I made a phone call to my mom loves Small World. Like she just, she loves like all of that old stuff, like the Small World and Carousel of Progress. And listen, I love Carousel of Progress too. But I mean, my mom, it's kind of a special thing because she actually saw it at the World's Fair. Like when it was, she told me that recently. She's like, did I ever tell you I saw Carousel of Progress at the World's Fair, like in whenever it was,
1964,
60 something. Yeah. And I'm like, shut up. No way. Did you? She's like, yeah, we went to the World's Fair and we saw that. And I was like, yeah, that's crazy. Wow. Right. Especially to like do it then and then do it now. But so that's like, she likes a lot of those classics. And so I was on Small World and she wasn't with us and I called her and I was like, hey, guess where I am? And like, held my cell phone up kind of thing. So, I wasn't trying to be the rude guy on the ride, I promise. But,
I mean, that's different versus like, hey, I'm ordering food. Do you want me to pick you up a burger?
Exactly. Yeah. It wasn't like a full on conversation. It was just, trying to share some Disney with my mom. So,
yeah,
but anyway, I was just thinking like I'm all for PhotoPass everywhere. I'd be cool with it if it's on every ride. I don't care. Put it on every ride. I'll look at the photos.
Oh yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like as much as I'm kind of bashing on the disinterested photos that you get, that's more to do with just bad positioning on the rides. It's not that I would say take it out. I just wish that they would think about where you're actually putting the camera. Like because your rides tell a story. Capture the story, not just here's people sitting in a box, like you said, looking at their phone.
that Pirates of the Caribbean one really got me. The first time I saw it, I was like, what in the world? Why would you put it there? Like, why? There's no point to that one.
And that one I did that one. Like I've been on with my family, and every time, I kind of look at it and I'm like, yeah, it's okay. But then I went on with my friends on this last trip. And like we all talked about it. It was funny because, we talked about all of our photos and everything, but then, we talked about the pirate one as like, you look so bored on that ride. Like we were all talking to each other and like commenting on who looked more bored in that picture,
really
which really I don't think that's what they were going for.
No, I don't think that was the idea what they had when they put that in there, I would say. So, well, listen, if you guys have other ones, if you're listening to this and you are thinking of a ride like, man, I need PhotoPass on that ride, then, shoot us an email, throw it on Facebook, let us know what you were thinking if we didn't cover one. how about the people mover too? Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah. So let's leave this one open. I want to hear what other people think, because I'm sure there's ones that I haven't even thought of.
I'm sure there are. I'm sure. So okay, so
Right.
so you guys, let's go ahead and talk about our new sponsor here. So let's
Yes.
I'll do this ad here for them. So you guys heard Drew on our show last week from DVC Rental Store. So they are our new sponsor here for Welcome Home, and we're so glad to have them. The really great company for both our DVC member listeners and our non-DVC member listeners. If you're thinking about DVC, or if you're not thinking about DVC, this appeals to everybody. So are you a frequent Disney visitor and want to save hundreds, even thousands on your next Disney trip? The DVC Rental Store wants to help you book your dream vacation for less. DVC members, it's great news for you too. Want to rent your points for some quick cash? DVC Rental Store wants to work with you, and they are currently renting out points at a record pace. For years, the DVC Rental Store has been helping guests stay at Disney Deluxe resorts at an affordable price, while also paying members the highest price for their points. So if this all sounds good to you and you want to learn more, the place you need to go is dvcrentalstore.com, or call 1-855-DVC-RENT. That's 1-855-382-7368. Let them know that Welcome Home sent you. Give them a call and say, hey, I heard you guys on Welcome Home, and I'm ready to rent out my points or rent some points from you so I can stay at a deluxe resort. Again, that's dvcrentalstore.com or 1-855-DVC-RENT. So yeah, please work with our new friends over at DVC Rental Store. They're great people over there. They're going to help you if you're, like I said, if you're a DVC member or not. If you're thinking about being a DVC member, I think the best thing you could possibly do is rent some points out and try it out, right? I mean, before you buy, right? Try before you buy.
Yeah, exactly. And for those of us that are already DVC, if you find you're not going to use your points in a year, might as well help pay your dues.
Exactly. You don't want those points to just expire.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a, terrible idea. So, and if sometimes you can't bank them either, right? So this is your solution. Talk to DVC Rental Store. They'll help you out. So
yeah, exactly.
So thanks to them for being our new sponsor on the show. And, like we said, all we ever ask from you guys is to support the people that support us. And, we appreciate it when you work with our friends, over at our two sponsors. So
yeah. And we love hearing your guys' stories when you guys do, talk to DVC Rental Store or DVC Resale Market. It makes us happy because we know that, we're helping you guys out too.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and we get email. We got so many emails for questions about DVC Rental Store. I knew that this is something people were interested in just by the sheer amount of questions that we got about it when we asked about it. So, just by that, we know that people were interested in it. But
That's
anyway,
fantastic.
Can I clean something up real quick, by the way?
Sure.
This is really random. So we were doing a bracket of DVC resorts on our Facebook page, something we never talked about on the podcast, by the way.
Yes.
We just did it on the Facebook page. I forgot to post the winner. So
I meant to ask you about that actually.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of other stuff happened and we had a lot of other things on the Facebook page, and it was a busy time. So I can announce, and you'll be happy about this, Trevor, because the winner was the Polynesian. So
Yes.
The Polynesian won. I was shocked by a couple of them in there. I couldn't believe Old Key West hung on for as long as it did. That was impressive to me. There were a couple surprises in there, but Polynesian pulled it out at the end.
You know what? And I'm okay being a poly snob because,
Our listeners are too. They're with you.
the bracket that didn't mean anything other than we were having fun reinforced the fact that, I'm glad you all love the poly as much as I love the poly.
And I apologize for not finishing what we started, but we got a lot of votes on that. So, I appreciate everybody that voted. It was fun. And March Madness is over. So our bracket is also over. Poly won. All right. I'll do better next year. I promise.
Yeah. We'll clean that up, but yeah, no, yeah. I'm glad that I was cheering for it. My wife and I were both kind of watching that bracket, and we were going back and forth, and every bracket I was like a couple of times Polly looked like it was gonna not make it, and I kept telling her, I'm like, no, I think it'll come through. I think people like the Polly, and for good reason.
I think at one point it almost lost to Copper Creek, actually. It was really close to Copper Creek. That was a close one.
And I would have been okay with that because, like I said, I like Copper Creek. It's just in a weird place for me.
All right, enough of the Copper Creek. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk about this. So, and this is I found the reaction to this interesting because some people seem jazzed about it. Some people didn't seem too psyched about it. And this was something you did, the After Hours event at Magic Kingdom, right? And loved it, right? You thought it was great.
I sent videos of it while we were there for the podcast. I mean, it was magical.
Well, and now they're trying to make it a little more magical by doing during the summertime. They're going to do a twist on the After Hours where they're going to have Disney Villains After Hours. And so some of the things to expect with this, there's going to be a stage show, a villain stage show with Hades and Meg from Hercules. It doesn't really say anybody else who's going to be in it, but
actually,
Jafar and the Queen. I'm sorry,
Dr. Facilier and Maleficent. Yeah.
And then they're going to have Maleficent the Dragon floating around. I don't know if she's just going to be... Oh, she creeps through the park. Okay, so she's going to be going around, which is interesting.
Kind of a mini parade, I guess, which...
It kind of sounds that way, but it just sounds like a one float parade, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't see it wandering. It's a big float. Like, you wouldn't just want that, like...
You can't just have it wandering. It's probably just going to go along the parade route that it normally would go on, right?
Yeah, but also, the amount of people that are there would mean, it's not... Yeah, it's not crowded like any other night. So, yeah, I can see why they would do that. And I'll admit, that float at night, I think, would be really fantastic. Like,
yeah, and I wonder if they'll even put like some more lighting on it somewhere or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
If they'll make it even like light up a little bit more at night. Not like, to the point of like the Main Street Electrical Parade, but maybe a little bit brighter and some more lights on it. Specialty food and drinks are going to be included in this too. Oh, I thought that was interesting. There was some Emperor Zurg stuff in there. That's kind of cool. You don't see that often.
Yeah, they mentioned Zurg specifically. Also, they said that some of the rides are getting some enhancements
for this.
So, yeah.
Are we talking about the Halloween parties?
No. So it says villainous enhancements. Discover surprising villain-inspired additions at Pirates of the Caribbean and Space Mountain.
Oh,
so
okay.
So
I missed that part.
So the rides themselves will have some tweaks done to them specifically for these parties, which that's really interesting because how do you not have that during the day and then during these nighttime parties? Like, what would
I feel like they got to be easily switchable things, right? So I feel like for Space Mountain, it's got to be like a change to the projections, right? And then for Pirates of the Caribbean, I'm thinking it's just they do what they did last year with the Halloween parties where they had some live characters in it. So
that's a good point. Yeah, I guess they could have some live characters, and maybe for Space Mountain, they could be something on the lift hill.
They could do that, or they could do, I guess they could do different projections on the inside or something. Yeah, like there's a lot I feel like they could do with it that they could easily switch out, right?
Yeah, I guess. So the thing with Space Mountain is so I've seen overlays done at the Disneyland Space Mountain. I haven't seen any done at Disney World yet.
No, they haven't done it. I think this is going to be. Well, no, I thought they did it for Halloween last year. For the Halloween parties specifically. They did
the blackout Space Mountain. So all it was they turned off all the lights. So you were completely in the dark.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, I'm sure it was something else. But, the thing is that, I was going to say, so at Disneyland, they already have the things in place to do these overlays because I saw... so Ghost Galaxy is their Halloween overlay, and then they also did the Hyperspace Mountain, which was a Star Wars one, and they had projections and extra lighting and stuff going inside the ride. But in Disney World, unless this is where they're going to start doing that. Maybe they are going to add some extra projection technology and lighting inside the ride that we aren't going to see yet.
Yeah, I that's what it feels like. I think the thing that people are upset about with this one, and I think if they did do this, then people would be all for this, is the fact that there's going to be no meet and greets for the villains.
You know,
I think that's why people are upset about it. I think otherwise everybody'd be on board, but the fact that there's no meet and greets for the villains, people are a little like, eh. You know what I mean?
Someone's going to get mad at me for this.
Uh-oh. Trevor's going to say something controversial.
I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care about, like, the meet and greets are like the last thing on my mind. Or like when I went to the after hours party, I didn't care about meeting anyone. My biggest goal was I was banging out rides like crazy.
Yeah.
And just enjoying the empty park. I didn't care that I couldn't meet any characters or anything like that. And I get, for me, that doesn't matter. I know there's lots of people that, characters are a big priority. And don't get me wrong, there are certain characters that I do prioritize, but I don't need an event. I shouldn't say this. I don't need an event to meet those characters because they are normally available. If it was a character that, I was like, or like Robin Hood, I guess is a good example, is, you hardly ever see him. And while it would be cool, I'm still not necessarily like, heartbroken that I can't meet that character. I don't know. I mean, I feel that these events have enough other stuff going on. Like the after hours events, you've got free run of the park, and like we felt, we went through the park and we hit everything, and there was just enough time for that. If I had to line up for characters in there, yeah,
I feel like it would kind of ruin it because you don't have that much time as it is.
Yeah,
and you need to make efficient use of your time for the cost of the party, right?
Yeah, but again, saying an efficient use, for different people, efficiency comes in different forms, right? Some people are about the rides, even the stage show, like going to the Halloween party, I love the stage show, I love the parade and everything, but those things also took time away from they didn't, those were the reasons that I was going to that event.
Yeah.
I guess this is the same kind of thing as, the reasons to go is, if you want to see the stage show, which I guess the hard thing is they like reading off what it is. It almost sounds like they're replacing the Halloween stage show with just this Hercules and Meg thing, like, because it's like the same people show up in the Halloween show.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, like it feels like they're doing, a summer version of it. Maybe it's like rehearsal for the next year Halloween party. I don't know.
That's an interesting point that I wouldn't have thought of, but yeah. And I guess I understand too, like, this isn't that much more expensive than the regular party though, right? It's the regular one's $125. This is $139.
Yeah. So
you're talking an extra $14 for all this villain stuff.
Yes. Yeah. So the difference is you get the show, you get to see the float at night, which, some people say, I can see that float during any party, but yeah, you're right. Hopefully there's some extras added on to that. Like, it's not just,
yeah.
But I guess even if it was just the float, I think seeing that float at night would differ from seeing it during the day. Like the lighting is different. The fire breathing will look a lot more impressive at night, I think.
Yeah, no, that's true. And yeah. I guess also the special merchandise and special food and beverage and that kind of thing too. I mean, I guess that's part of it too. We should point out here that AP and DVC members get a $30 discount, so you get it for $109. So
yeah, so
that's pretty good.
At that point, it's no different than going to any other after hours party. Like for me, I would do this because, like, just the fact that it's an after hours party, I do like those. I do enjoy the idea of those, and I would do it, even outside of the stage show. Like, I would be going there with an intent of, exploring an empty park, and, I would watch the stage show, but it wouldn't be like my only reason for being there. And yeah, same thing with the character meets is like, I don't know. Like I said, for me personally, I like meeting characters, but if I don't meet a character, it doesn't ruin my entire trip.
Yeah,
So,
I get that. I get that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. I think it's cool they're trying to do something different, and it's not that much more expensive than the regular ones. So, I mean, I could understand if maybe they were charging like, $30-$40 more, but it's $15 more for, for this special event. And so I get why some people, they wish they could meet the characters, but at the same time, if you're really into the whole Disney villain thing, then, do it. I mean, I think it's not a bad thing.
I think it's cool that, a lot of people have said that, they've wanted, a villain park or a villain centric, experience. And I think it's cool that, Disney is at least experimenting with these things.
Well, you remember they had that villain thing for like a hot second, like
at Hollywood Studios?
At Hollywood Studios, where the Cars thing is now. I feel like it was a lot of the same characters. So I'm not saying they recycled any of it. I'm just saying it's interesting to me that they're now putting them, doing a show over at Magic Kingdom with them too. So
yeah,
well,
it's probably because they got evicted from Hollywood Studios by Star Wars.
Kicked out. I've heard that Cars thing is actually really cool. So
yeah,
the animatronic looks amazing. So
yeah,
but
actually, he looks a lot like the one in Radiator Springs Racers.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, which that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a compliment.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about, especially since Damon's not here. Let's talk about some updates to the nighttime shows that we heard about this week. Do you want to talk about these?
Yeah. So let's see. The big ones are Hollywood Studios and Epcot are having their nighttime shows replaced. So Hollywood Studios is on May 1st.
Well, Hollywood Studios is not being replaced. It's in addition to, I think.
I thought they were replacing the Star Wars one. So this
No. This is in addition to. Yeah.
Oh, I misunderstood that then. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they said they weren't getting rid of anything else. That this was just a new one.
Oh wow. So they're gonna run, because the Star Wars ones run at like park closing.
Yeah.
And then these ones, are they gonna run before or after? I mean, I guess park closing would mean like they would extend the park hours and then like run one at 8 and run one at 10 or something.
Yeah,
like
according to this article, Wonderful World of Animation won't be replacing Disney Movie Magic or Star Wars: The Galactic Spectacular. Rather, it will just be added to the park's slate of nighttime shows. So all 3 shows could play on a given night.
Whoa.
That's a lot of shows.
That's a lot of nighttime shows at Hollywood Studios, which
yeah.
For me, I honestly, I never stay there in the evening, but, well, I mean, we did once. We did the Star Wars dessert party there, but since
we always try to go to Fantasmic at least, though.
Yeah, I mean, again, we've done that, but even on our last trip, we skipped Fantasmic just because we didn't want to deal with the park emptying out.
Yeah,
at that point,
I get that. And with all the construction, when you were there last time, I'm sure it was a lot more of a pain too. And some of that's relieved now, but I'm sure it was way worse then.
Yeah, that was it. Is it like like everything, like the bus area, like half of Hollywood Studios was under construction, so it wasn't. There was no desire for me to stay there past the evening. Like I think the day that we were there, we were gone by like 6:00 that night.
That makes sense.
To the hotel. So
yeah, I think this is cool though, because it's like it's celebrating the 30th anniversary of the park.
Yeah, which and it looks, this particular show, they say it's a 12-minute runtime and has nods to every single animated Disney and Pixar movie from Snow White up to Ralph Breaks the Internet.
And apparently they can also update it on the fly too, so whenever they release new animated movies, they can add them in.
Wow, that's a lot of movies.
It's a lot of movies in 12 minutes.
I'd have to go and look up how many movies, because that's like you get like 5 seconds for,
yeah, I know, right?
For some of them.
Pretty much, yeah. Unless they're showing them all, they're showing many at the same time, which from the pictures that they're showing, it seems like they're showing many different
like montage.
Yeah, like, but like they'll have, in different corners of the theater projected on, different movies. So,
right.
Yeah.
Now, I guess I'll have to wait and see on this, but I wonder if they're going to acknowledge the Black Cauldron.
I'm sure they will.
You think so? Because
I don't know, maybe.
Have you seen the Black Cauldron?
I think I did once when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's an older movie, and it was kind of a weird movie. But
Disney's got some weird ones in their history, though.
But the thing is, it's one of those movies that's never, like, you don't ever see it on DVD or anything like that. It's like It's never appeared again. And actually, it's funny that the Black Cauldron, if you watch the Disney shorts at all, or like the new Mickey Mouse ones that come out, one of the more recent ones, it was actually the when the booth tolls, I think was the name of the cartoon, where he doesn't pay a toll booth and he's like getting stalked by it.
I don't think I saw that one.
Yeah, so it came out, like, I think in the last couple of months, but they did a funny thing with that where he was trying to find change to pay the toll booth, and he reaches underneath his car seat to look for change, and there's a VHS tape for the Black Cauldron there. It's like it looks like a recorded the Black Cauldron.
That's funny. So
somebody deliberately put it there, and as a VHS tape, fully acknowledging the fact that it's never come out anywhere. Like, you haven't seen it since, right?
That's funny.
Yeah. So like I said, I find it interesting that they're acknowledging all these animated movies. I'm wondering if certain ones will be exempt or not.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I like all these projection shows. I'm all in favor of it. Do more. It's cool.
Yeah.
I'm cool with 3 shows in a row. It's cool.
They're fine by me. I haven't been disappointed by a single one yet. So
yeah.
I'm
more excited about the Illuminations thing.
Yes, I get to actually see this. I'm sorry that Illuminations is going away. Don't take this the wrong way, but I am glad that when I get to go in November, I get to see the new one.
Well, I'll do you one better, Trevor, because my trip falls in between both shows. So I am going to, and I will try to live stream this. We are going to go to the very last Illuminations on September 30th. We will be there for our trip, which I was so psyched about, because Illuminations just is a show that it holds a special place for my wife and I. I don't know why. Like, nothing special happened there. Like, I didn't propose to her there or anything, but it's just a show that speaks to both of us, in a way, right? And so the fact that we're going to be there when the very last one is happening, we have to go. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be packed. I'm sure everybody's like, all the pass holders are going to go that night. I mean, it's going to be packed, but I mean, we got to see the last Illuminations ever. And the fact that it's happening at the very beginning of our trip, because our trip starts the 29th, Illuminations ends the 30th. And then so we have the rest of the week we can go and see the new show. So I'm so excited about this. I couldn't believe that it was happening right in the middle of my trip, and it's like, this is perfect.
That is perfect. Now,
right? Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead. Sorry, I
was gonna say, are you gonna attempt to do them back to back, or are you gonna give yourself a couple of days in between? Because
if it were just my wife and I, like it used to be, we probably would do it back to back. But since we have my daughter, we'll probably give it a couple nights. But that's fair. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see, because since we're going with so many other people, there might be a situation where a couple of them don't want to go and they can watch my daughter, and then we can just go. I don't know. We'll have to kind of see how that works out. But I'm telling you right now, there's nothing there's no way we're not going to go to the last Illuminations. Just not going to happen. We have to go.
Totally. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying, and that's
history.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and yeah, like you said, if you're able to, I'm sure the podcast would love to see at least a little snippet of it.
Sure.
We'll have to figure out how that Facebook live streaming stuff works too.
Yeah.
The only problem is that, I'm sure a lot of people will be doing it, so you may have
internet issues. Yeah.
I wouldn't rely on the park Wi-Fi if you're going to do it.
Yeah, that's true. That's probably going to be an issue, but I think I've live streamed stuff on the Facebook page before, and it's, it's hit or miss because of the internet connection, but yeah, no, I mean, I'm going to try to live stream this if I can, because I mean, it's like I said, it's been going on for 20 years. It's going to be cool to be there for the very last one. And I think a lot of people want to see that. And I'm also assuming they'll do, they'll really go all out with it, Yep. I saw Illuminations one time during Christmas time, and they do the amount of fireworks they shoot off for that show. The special Illumination show they do during like Christmas is crazy. So I'm assuming they'll probably go all out for this last one. So
totally. Yeah. And so they should. I mean, I think it's a great ending of a chapter in Disney parks, I think, is the way I would classify it.
Yeah, and I'm excited for Epcot Forever too. I don't know how many people watched the live stream of Illuminations the other day. I did, but we watched that, and then they gave a little preview of Epcot Forever, and they they're going to showcase all this old Epcot music from all these recognizable things, Figment and all the other stuff, and so that's pretty cool. I'm excited about that. And I also thought, I saw a couple people online thought that this was lame, but I thought the kites were pretty cool. I don't know if you saw the glowing kites, then they're pulling them on jet skis and having them fly through the air. And I'm like, I think those look pretty cool. I don't think they look lame at all. And in fact, I think it's a neat idea. And of course, this is a bridge show, people. Let's not forget that. This is not the permanent show. But, this is obviously they have something different in store for the permanent show.
For sure. And I think the only way that the kites would detract from it is that it probably matters where you are positioned around the lagoon. Because
that could be.
If all you're hearing is jet skis or boats or whatever whipping around, I can see where that could take away from the show. But
sure,
overall though, I think it's cool that they're using this in between show to kind of explore these things, I guess, and see how people react to them, because why not, right?
Yeah. And what my thought was, I was thinking, okay, I think they really want to do this with drones, but that they're not ready to do it yet with drones. You know what I mean? So this is their stopgap. That's kind of what my feeling was.
Totally.
Right? I mean, that my feeling is, okay, because they filed that drone patent technology many years ago now and still have not used it yet, right? And I just feel like this is going to be the time that they're going to use it, is for this permanent Epcot show. And this seems to me like a stopgap in between, where they can do some of the things they want to do with these kites, and then later on they can do what they were looking to do with some drones. So I don't know, I could be totally wrong, and I have no inside knowledge of this, but I just and like I said, I thought they looked cool. I thought it was an interesting thing, and I think any effect by itself maybe doesn't look great, and all we saw was a test of the kites, right?
Yeah.
So with everything else, it's going to be just an added element. It's not just a kite show,
True. And to reaffirm that point is, I've heard people, comment like Happily Ever After is a great example where, you have different things all working together to tell a bigger story or to have a bigger presentation. And I remember before Happily Ever After, they did some projection shows on the castle, and people were kind of like, it was cool, but it's just a projection, right? But Happily Ever After works because it's the projections and the fireworks and
the music.
Yeah, the music, everything gelling together. I think that's where, like you said, you're going to really see, these things will probably make a lot more sense, and it'll be, if you just watch them, drive boats around with kites behind them, you'd be like, okay,
what is this? Then you add in the music and the fireworks and the lasers and the water cannons and all the million other things they're going to do, then then it works as a piece of the show. So all right, well, let's keep moving on here, because we are
we're getting close, but it's
we've been talking a lot. Okay, so let's talk some rumors. You want to talk about this rumor?
I do want to talk about this rumor. I feel this is a rumor that Damon wishes he was here for. So
for sure. And this is, by the way, we got this from WDWNT. Yeah, I know. He definitely wishes he was here for this. We got this from WDWNT, so this is according to them. So go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, so the rumor is, the Agent P attraction that is in World Showcase is going to be replaced by a DuckTales adventure. So for anyone that doesn't know, Agent P from Phineas and Ferb, and actually even before that, it was originally a Kim Possible adventure as well. It's like this little, it was an interactive mini game that you did where you went around World Showcase to the different pavilions, and it followed a story. In the case of Agent P, it's all Phineas and Ferb. So you're working with Agent P, and you're trying to stop Dr. Doofenshmirtz from doing something. And so you go around to the different pavilions and get clues and do all that. Originally they, I have to explain this because I always thought it was funny how they did this in Phineas and Ferb. But originally they gave you a phone, but that it was spelled Field Operative Notification Equipment, which was a Samsung flip phone. But of course, in Phineas and Ferb, they never, or it was the thing with Dr. Doofenshmirtz that he would always make like acronyms that, you know, spelt out the actual thing that you were using or that he was using or whatever. So they've actually replaced that with, it's now part of the Play Disney Parks app. So you can do the Agent P adventure in there. But the rumor is that that's going to go away. So it's no longer going to be Phineas and Ferb, and they're going to replace it with DuckTales. And I think that's perfect. Like if you watch,
idea.
if you've watched DuckTales, you know, the new DuckTales, it's very much in that vein. You know, they're traveling the world. You know, they're touching on a lot of different cultures and whatnot. And, you know, why not? Right. Like it's, it seems like a great way to update it because as much as I love Agent P and I love Phineas and Ferb, Phineas and Ferb's been done for a while now. So they do have to update the stuff that they're doing in the parks around it.
Yeah, and I mean DuckTales is fresh in everybody's mind because the reboot I think is done pretty well. So I think this makes sense. And as someone who's never played the game before and didn't have kids to play the game, I'm not that attached to it. I don't really know much about Phineas and Ferb. I do know a lot about DuckTales, just growing up watching DuckTales. But so I'm happy with more DuckTales in the park. Bring it on. I think it's a good thing, right?
And the new DuckTales, even like they've expanded on the universe a little bit more too, which I think is kind of neat as well. Like because they actually talk about the Huey, Dewey, and Louie's mom and stuff like that. So I think it'll be a cool way that, they can, I'm sure you'll see a lot of the characters from the new DuckTales worked into it. Maybe they might even be able to expand on it a little bit as like additional information to what you see in the cartoon.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they can. I'm sure they'll make it go a little bit, further even.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope that this rumor comes true. WDWNT does tend to have decent resources or decent sources on these things. So, I mean, obviously we won't know until it actually does come about if that is the truth. But either way, I do think the Agent P adventure is coming due for a replacement. So.
Yeah, now with the Play Parks app, they can be so flexible about changing these things, and they can do it, not pretty quickly, but I mean, it's a lot easier than when you had to give out equipment before. Now everybody just has a smartphone, so you can just add it into the app, right? So
doing software updates is easier than replacing hardware.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the other rumor we have today is about some changes at Epcot, and this again from WDWNT. They're reporting it as news. We're always a little bit more careful because if Disney hasn't announced something yet, I still consider it a rumor until Disney's announced it. But basically this is more about the Epcot changes, and these are things that are not announced yet, but this is something that WDWNT is reporting. So they said in past posts, Innovations West is going to be bulldozed, as will the Fountain of Nations and Penn Central. The demolition of Innovations West also means Club Cool, the Epcot character spot, and the Art of Disney store, which makes me just so upset. Yeah. Just the Art of Disney store and Club Cool, just killing me here. But because I love that Art of Disney store.
Yeah, and yeah, I like Club Cool as well.
Yeah, me too. Well, and hopefully they bring these things back. But anyway, so Innovations East is set to only be partially removed, leaving Electric Umbrella and Mouse Gear remaining, with a new path left of Electric Umbrella. It'll lead guests directly to the Guardians of the Galaxy coaster and the Play Pavilion, more quickly from the park entrance. So basically, they're going to demolish some of it to give you a better route over to those new areas. Now, this says replacing Penn Central and the Fountain of Nations will be an Epcot garden, accompanied by a permanent beer garden, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of permanent, a new custom-built structure will be home to the Epcot Festival Center, a place for various events that are part of the now 4 annual events hosted at the park. With the popularity of the festivals, a dedicated bridge over this side of Future World will extend from near Spaceship Earth to the main entrance of the Festival Center, I think that's a good idea too. With how many things they're doing at Epcot, it makes sense to have like a permanent Festival Center.
Oh yeah. And I think I mentioned this when we were talking about the Epcot updates or changes, is that I figured that something permanent for the festivals would have to go into place, because like if you look at the way it is right now, they have the booths all around the World Showcase, and that's okay. But with Epcot starting to renovate again, and once things like Ratatouille open up and Guardians opens up, you're going to have more people in Epcot. I can't imagine them wanting to have a whole bunch of people crowded around World Showcase trying to get the latest,
Yeah.
I don't even know what they sell at those things, honestly. Like,
All
like
sorts
beef
of stuff.
bun or whatever, thing has come with the current festival, right? I think it makes more sense. The beer garden and the festival both being in close proximity to each other makes sense, because, the people that want to do, try the different drinks and all that kind of stuff, they also want to try the food. And it keeps that all kind of contained to the same area, which, in terms of crowd control, makes a lot of sense, I think, because then that way it's, those people that want to be there, can go there and do their thing, but then it leaves the rest of the World Showcase open for people that want to go to World Showcase and don't necessarily want to be, working through lineups of people, waiting to get their food and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. And they can
Yeah.
do things like, the culinary demonstrations over there and, all the other kind of events that they could do. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was also going to say that path next to Electric Umbrella, I never thought about this before, but yeah, that whole side, like those buildings that kind of to the left and right of Spaceship Earth, they really do act as a funnel into that central area by the fountain. And I can see why Disney wants to get rid of that, because yeah, it's tough to get through there when there's a lot of people. Like it looks big, but it really doesn't allow for good traffic flow.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I think it's a smart idea to kind of open that up a little bit more, especially with, assuming how popular those spots are going to be. I mean, Disney's really trying, you could tell, to, kind of make the guest experience a little bit better in the way of, clearing up some of the walkways and making them wider and, making it so it's not so crowded. Like when it's crowded, it doesn't feel as crowded, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really something they're working hard on. So I think that's a good thing. They also say in here too that new standalone structures will be erected for Starbucks and for the various character meet and greets. So it seems like they'll have like a permanent meet and greet facility there for like the Inside Out characters, Big Hero 6, Mickey and the gang. The other component is called the Trail of Water, or the Journey of Water, which is a trail that will lead down towards the seas with Nemo and Friends Pavilion. This trail will consist of a number of water features and will also be a child-friendly maze experience, which sounds pretty cool.
I'm wondering what a non-child-friendly maze experience would be.
That's where I've actually been in a non-child-friendly maze experience before. On Halloween when you're walking through a maze and people are jumping out at you and scaring you.
Yeah, I guess. If there was water involved, I think that would be on a whole other level. But
yeah, that's true. I'm thinking like the jumping fountains, and like I'm sure there's going to be interactive stuff for the kids to do.
Yeah, because right now the fountains are over by the Imagination Pavilion, right?
Yeah.
And then they used to be somewhere else. I felt like they used to be closer to Test Track a long time ago. Maybe I was dreaming that.
I don't remember that, because when I was a very little kid, there's a picture of me standing in front of one of those fountains, and one of the water, was jumping from one to the other, and it shorted it, and so it landed on my head, I guess, and I guess I cried for quite a while. It's a story my mom loves to tell, of me standing in front of one of those fountains. So
yeah, I might be thinking of somewhere else. I thought I remember those fountains in a different spot, but I could be confusing it with. I know I'm probably confusing it with Disneyland.
Okay, well that makes sense,
because the fountains are in a different spot, or while they're in Disneyland. But yeah,
that makes total sense.
Yeah.
So I mean, and by the way, so all this they expect to announce at 2019 D23 or sometime sooner. And then also this will include the rumored refurbishment to Spaceship Earth, the really long-term refurbishment that we have talked about on the show previously. So I mean, I think these are interesting changes. I think Epcot fans should be excited about this, because I feel like this is almost being a little more old school, you know, kind of taking Epcot in like a direction of, you know, like back to original Epcot, I feel like.
I don't know if it's original Epcot,
but you know what I mean? Like,
but I guess it's, Epcot really, you're right. It's become very stagnated, and every time we go there now, like, you know, going there over the last couple of years, you see it more and more, right? Like, I don't get me wrong. I will still plan to go there. It's just some things. It's like, that's really 90s. Like, it's, it's not that, like, it's like, you want Epcot to be what, you know, what Walt kind of presented it as being, or what his vision was. Like, you want to be that, you know, city of the future and all that. And even though, you know, it is a theme park, and it's never going to be what you wanted it, what everyone, I guess, wanted it to be for Walt. You still want it to be a little more timeless, I guess. And I feel like they were in a hard spot, like with Innoventions and stuff. You could see for a while that they were floundering with it, right? Like, they didn't want to, you know, do a massive overhaul on it yet, but they also, like, they were kind of doing things to try and keep it interesting, but it just wasn't working, right? Like, Innoventions became this, like, thing.
Yeah, I guess what I mean by original Epcot, I feel like it's making it more of like a permanent, like, World's Fair than it was before. Like, where it's, you know, like having like a beer garden and a festival center, and like, I just feel like it's more towards the original vision and not like IP based, like everybody's been worried about. Because, I mean, they're doing their IP based stuff, obviously, with Ratatouille and Guardians. But, you know, some of this other design stuff, like what they're doing to the entrance, and I think it's going to look really neat, and like, kind of, it's going to be different, you know?
Yeah. And yeah, you're right to that point. Like, yeah, you've got entire sections that are being redesigned just as, you know, like for the purpose of the park, I guess, versus for the purpose of an IP. Because, you know, the festivals, like they've said, you know, the festivals have become a regular practice at Epcot, so everyone expects them. So it's nice that they're actually saying, you know, we know that this is not just a, you know, we did this as a stopgap because we didn't know what else to do. It's, you know, we know this is our festival center now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, listen, we should probably wrap this up because we're
we should.
way over on time. But I'm excited for the Epcot changes. I'm excited to see what they do, and I'm excited to see the announcement and get even more details about this.
Exactly. So yeah, everyone keep an eye on D23 this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead and wrap us up here.
Okay, so for anything you guys heard today that you would love to comment on, or if you got questions, you know, DVC related questions, or, you know, just stuff about PhotoPass locations that you would like to see.
Stuff about PhotoPass. Just things about PhotoPass. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you can drop us an email at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. Again, you know, we keep getting emails from you guys, and it's always, you guys always have the most interesting stuff for us, and good points of view that we don't always necessarily think about, because, you know, obviously we talk here, but you know, we can't see every point of view. So we're glad that you guys are sharing with us. So keep it coming.
We try to give every point of view, but it's hard. It's hard to give every point of view, you know?
It's impossible for me to do because I'm not everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I appreciate other people chiming in. Also, if you want to talk to us on Facebook, we're at Welcome Home Podcast on Facebook. Twitter and Instagram are Welcome Home Pod and Welcome Home Pics. Really, those will, anytime we post pictures and stuff like that, you'll see those show up on Twitter and Instagram, which I know for some people those work better because they don't necessarily check Facebook. So you can subscribe to us that way, just to keep updated on what we're doing on Facebook. Also, if you... I'm sorry, my voice is cracking here.
It's okay, it happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
We've been talking for almost 2 hours, so it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's dry in here today. That's what it is. Yeah, so,
iTunes reviews.
Yeah, iTunes. If you know, leave us a review just so that, you know, if if you like what we're doing. If you don't like what we're doing, let us know, because we like feedback. More than just, I didn't like it. Give us a reason why.
Yeah,
if you did like it, give us a reason why.
Exactly. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, just about any podcast app that's out there. You can find us. Just search for Welcome Home. And of course, as a reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, any and all opinions we express on this show are our own. So, if you have any questions about anything you heard today, ask a cast member, call Disney directly, call DVC directly. Don't take our word for it. A lot of this is our opinion and not necessarily always fact, right? So thank you to DVC Rental Store for sponsoring this episode. We appreciate having them. Go ahead and check them out, if you're looking to either rent points or rent them out. Join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion and, of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
We do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl. Look out, here comes